Wow, welcome everybody. Really grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this space that opened up and the invitation and your soul coming to meet this moment together. So many familiar faces. Hello. It's so beautiful because it feels it's us, right? There is no, we are amongst friends. We can really relax and spend an evening together, inspiring each other, really. You all come with a lot of knowledge and very rich experience. And this is a moment in time, is an intersection, imagine, all of us, with the richness of our life, that in the chaos of reality, in this moment of time, it's locking in. We have this moment together, and then we're going to take another form and another shape, and we interlocked into something else. This is how life moves with us, how we are really relevant for the expansion and unraveling of consciousness in the cosmos. So I want you to feel this, the importance of your presence here in this moment, and feel what are you bringing in this interjection of time space, to take a moment and feel yourself in the immensity of who you are, what you're carrying, the dream you're having, the longings, the fears, the daily things, and see how big you are, all your lineages, mother lineage, father lineage, the multitude of personal experience you are bringing in this moment. And here we lock together and just really feel how this expansion, it's like consciousness suddenly reaching so many directions all at once. This fascinates me. And this is when we say the divine is dancing. And we are dancing the divine. We become aware of the magnitude of my presence in space-time. With all my emotion, my like, my dislike, my fear, this is beautiful. This creates the richness of consciousness. And, sometimes we've been educated in a certain way, or at least I was certainly. This idea that there is this divine, this God, goddess, that is, has got this wisdom, has your goodness at its heart. And there is like a good plan in the heart of God that everything will be well, and if you're doing these things because you're meant to, for the good of all. There's always this idea that God is invested in our goodness. And this, in tantric term, is the greatest illusion, There is no one outside you having any thought about you, actually. And it's like the universe is conspiring for you, your star sign. Really? This massive movement, cosmic, galactic, is really interested if you're going to meet Bob or James today, or what color socks you're going to put on, or how many bench press you're going to do today. Not really, it's such a detail. And so one of the aspects of Tantrism that is so liberating, but also so scaring, so unnerving, so terrifying, is that there is no plan. No one has got your back, really. In a sense that you are co-creating in every moment. That nothing is predicted. And yes, of course, we know that in the totality of consciousness, everything has already happened, even things that haven't happened yet. All is there. Because we understand that consciousness has the potential to be everything it can think or imagine to be. And so everything is already there, of course, the totality. But this is a very expansive concept because we are co-creator of all these pieces of data. Now there is this new language, I like to use it to express this concept, we are adding data to the magnifying possibility of reality, that it's only there if you put it there. And then it exists in consciousness. And then that potential has happened too. And then there is readiness for more potential. So every thought you have, every gesture you make, you're adding data in this world of possibility that can be everything, and also including all the things we don't like, war as well, and suffering, and extreme violence. That's also consciousness having an experience as that. And if consciousness is wanna be everything, is everything already, then everything that we experience and that exists, it's precious, it's sacred, it's of the body of the divine. Even the thing we don't like or we would prefer, they're not here. It's heartbreaking daily because it means everything is the dance of the divine, everything is the goddess dancing, even the battleground, even the famine, even the abuse. And so how do we put ourselves in relation to all of this if this too is God? If it wasn't God, it wouldn't be happening. According to the Tantric tradition, we understand this philosophy say, which doesn't mean it's the absolute truth, but this is what this philosophy proposes, that everything that exists is the body of consciousness. Sometimes we say it's the body of Shiva, just for our limited brain to understand the magnitude of what we're talking about. And if it doesn't happen in the body of Shiva, there's nowhere else where it can happen. So there isn't anything other than this. There isn't over there. Over there doesn't exist. It's always everything right here. It includes it all. So if it happened, anything, that also is the will of the divine. But it doesn't have this ultimate plan. You know, there is this beautiful say, if you've seen I think it was from the Marigold Hotel, everything will be well at the end. And if it's not well, it's because it's not the end. And your death is not the end, and your life is not the end. Consciousness keeps churning itself in this eternal movement. And so it's terrifying to understand all of this, because it means we have to understand there is absolute no control. And we like control. We like to feel we are a little bit in control of certain things, of my life, or my finances, and to really enter in this, in the mysticism of the Tantra, is to actually fall in love with this terrifying idea. And when you are in love with this movement, the mystics, you know, are the lovers. We follow the movement of the heart more than a philosophy written by someone else. We make love with wide open, with every moment, every in-breath is the kiss, is the potential of consciousness experiencing itself as this, in this right moment, even when it's least comfortable for me. But consciousness is moving and traversing, and through me, we adding data to the potential. And I will be gone, and consciousness stays richer and richer, because also this intervention of me as my ego self, Valentina, which is also one of the possibility of consciousness. If she can be everything, she can also be Valentina and Elena and Alex, you know? Why not? Of course. And so there is this individuation and the dissolutional individuation that is also part of the experience of consciousness, to know itself as one separated from everything. Everything is also consciousness. The feeling of separation is how consciousness understands that experience of itself. Sometimes there is the longing, the union, the ecstasy, the tantric cosmic orgasm when there is no one here to tell the story anymore, and yet there is the quivering, no mind, full body, full, you know, no body, full mind. That also the ecstasy of thoughts that happen when we read the sacred text. sometimes this absolute orgasm, the mind, it creates inspiration to the intelligence, the human intelligence, that expand in such a way that dissolve itself in the reabsorption of this force that churns itself continuously. So, where were we? This moment of meeting that we are having, to be aware of all this little moment at all time, I think, is to be hollow and so filled, so full at the same time of the elusivity of our human experience, and also the richness that brings. To recognize that is the biggest emotional expansion. It looks like despair sometimes, but actually it's the heart feeling the intensity of the thing it cannot understand. So in the tradition we have the expression of Shiva, it's Bhairava. And the expression of Shakti is Bhairavi, B-H-A, Bhairavi, Bhairavi. And is the tantric expression of Shiva. We say this because Shiva, in the Indian classical tradition of Hinduism, it's understood to be part of a triad of divinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So it's limited to his expression of the destroyer. You know, many of you may be familiar in the yoga, always Shiva represents destruction. Is this fierce dance of destruction. But in Tantrism, there isn't a pantheon of God. There is only Shiva, consciousness. Shiva is the name of absolute, supreme consciousness. That is this movement churning itself. And out of his body churning created is the Shakti, this come out of his body. In fact, often time you will see Shiva Shakti in sexual union. It means it's created out of his penis. Now there is a body, and we call the Shakti its power to be everything it wants to be. And when we look at it from this lens, Shiva is not masculine, Shakti is not feminine. These are just compenetrating forces that are in place in order for us to be here and having this conversation and stretching the mind to try to understand this, again, magnitude. And so the Shakti expressed from this body and create this manifestation, this specific manifestation we are in from our worldly event, everything that is the form, the dance, the poetry of light. My voice speaking to you, having a language that creates meaning, you receiving the meaning, creating your own meaning, images, body, density of body, the world we created with houses and church and art and lighting, everything is the Shakti. Everything is the power of this pure mind, we say with a capital M, not coming from our thinking brain, but the real architect of cosmic reality has the power to express in this way. So everything becomes the Shakti. So in the classical tantric tradition, we stop here. 2 is enough. 2 is big. Just get to know these 2. If you're lucky, one lifetime, maybe many. And so we have Bhairava and Bhairavi. Bhairava is Shiva, Bhairava, Deva, what ends with A. It's the masculine, is the activating principle of reality. Mahadeva, great God, is another name of Shiva. And then there is Shakti, Bhairavi, Kali, Devi. It's the feminine. So Lakshmi, lots of the feminine Devi. Bhairavi is this expression when it becomes activated, when this potential of being everything, this mind, you know, we say everything Shiva put his mind to, it's a world created. So to imagine what Shiva is before it focuses on any thought. If you can, imagine that. Everything is this perfect architecture of forces holding itself in this quivering, apparent immobility that is so flexible and elastic to become anything. So we understand our cosmic reality, have no idea what happened beyond this cosmic reality. And that's something we don't even pay attention to. Why? We are in this marvel of this universe. Let's stay here. Let's get to know this. Let's not go into many past life, future life, disembodied being. How about us here, human? This is this magnificence, this experience that consciousness is having of knowing itself. In the human dimension, knowing is the orgasmic realization of the divine. And you know, our culture is so based in knowledge knowing, intellectual knowing, which is very valid, because you know, our intellect can also get quite unruly, and it's so powerful also, it's gonna make up stories of theory that are only true in our mind, they are self-indulgent, but they might not apply with the law of reality. And here, when there is a bit of madness coming in, you know. And then there is this organism that has law of reality. So as Tantric, we pay tribute and devotion to the greatest law, not the human law that you write in a book. Like now, all the international humanitarian law, and then there is a country that breaks them all, and everybody just declare, you broke the law, you broke the law. How did you break all this law? You breaking the law. You can't arrest us, you break the law. And they get arrested and the law is broken. It's like, what the fuck? This law is shit. It's worth nothing. This is not a law. We abiding to law that are worthless. They're produced by the limited mind in fear. So we try to pay attention to the biggest law, the law of nature. You know, hot air goes up and cold air goes down. Build your reality. Fire is hot. It's not an illusion. Touch it. You will know. It's for real. So I'm going a little bit in circle. I just wanted to bring some point, and then I want to open for the conversation. So Bhairavi, in Tantrism, in classical Tantra, we have Bhairava. And Bhairava is terrifying. He's not a sexy god like Blue Shiva with the dreadlocks and smoking the joint and hanging out in Goa, you know, super cool with the tiger sarong. I mean, we love it. I loved it for many, many years. And desperately loved him. I trained in classical Indian dance for many years, and so we danced for the god, and every time I performed, I'd imagine this sexy Shiva there on the corner of the room, leaning. And because, you know, in this way you had to give your best in your dance. You can't play small. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, but I'm not sure she's better. Now God is looking. He knows how good you are. He knows that you know. Stop pretending. And that's when you like really come alive, like in total honesty in your devotion and worship of the dance or any art. So this is a beautiful inspiration if you're an artist. You can imagine Shiva always present when you create music or art. And you can't fool this ego, I'm not good enough, and what if? You have to give it all. But anyway, I'm diverging again. Shiva was always so gorgeous because that's what the way was getting my attention, you know. So I knew that's how I had to keep the mind focused. And but when I went deeper in the teaching, you know, Bhairava is not pretty anymore. Bhairava is fucking terrifying. Bhairava is also not so embodied and dense in a body and a form. Bhairava, it's actually eyes and fangs, mouth red, like a demon. I don't know if you've been to Bali. You see there are demons everywhere, the guardians. And it says the name is like the sounds of the thunder. Bah! You know those thunder when it clap the sky, crack reality. And in that cracking, you are there, the center of everything. You cannot hold on to any of your story, idea, personality, name, what I've studied, what I know it's true, what I believe to be true, what I hope is true. Everything clap you out of your identified expression, and then, there just is. And to just be together with the deepest emptiness of everything, it's terrifying. Then you begin noticing, oh, actually, I like my identification. Can I have a little bit of ego back, please? This is like so scary. There's no up or down. There's nothing to hold on to for balance. Speaking about the Tandava. That's why we practice the Tandava in this tradition. Some of you are familiar with the Tandava. Because when you meet Bhairava, there you are, no up, no down. How flexible you're going to stay. Because if you get rigid, you're dead. You break when that clap comes. But if you imagine this like metal or the wood, the bamboo, how they bend and they come back into form when the storm clap them, is that hollow flexibility. That's we prepare, we use the Tandava to be prepared. I mean, we were speaking, you left me a message this morning thinking, the goal of Tantra and what is the aim to live with God. And I sat and thought about it for a while because the tradition also say you should have no goals. You should have no goals in your practice because if you have a goal, you are not present in what's happening here. You're there, you're busy with your intellectualizing the goal. It's not here. If it's a goal, it means you're not having it. And all the spiritual tradition keeps saying you have it already. What you need to let go of is here. Stay focused here. And so the tradition gives us practice not to culture the goal, but to culture our ability to be ready. Ready, flexible, open, soft, malleable, permeable, that you can take up the shape of if necessary. If what you really desire, also the traditions say, if what you really desire is the truth of reality, it will come. It's here already. The depth of your desire will dictate how much she shows up. Are you ready to see it? Do you want to see it everywhere? How deeply it's your desire is not a goal. It's a desire that unravels you and opens you up to see the truth of reality. It will meet you. And so just keep preparing yourself to be really flexible because the tradition says when Bhairava clap you, it's really scary. Scary in a way if you are invested in having control and wanting to understand and be on top of it and the master of. If you're invested in that, it might just kill you, drive you mad. But if you are invested in know it as a love affair, like you know a lover, like in the old days to ask someone if they slept with someone, have you known her? To say I've slept with her, I've known her intimately, you know? You meet with your body, with every self of the body is a knowing. Then Bhairava become the greatest liberation. That when it claps you go, finally, I've been waiting at this bus stop for so long. Dissolution, you know? Shiva, aha moment. Aha. We all have this aha moment. When you have an aha moment in your ordinary life, when you put things together, you don't know why, and then they come together and you go, That moment is the experience of God knowing itself. We look at it because we're always waiting for this cosmic shower of bliss. I don't know what we imagine is going to be, and that we quiver and giggle and become aware that we are having the orgasmic meeting with God. If you are aware of it, is not it. If you can talk about it and say, oh, amazing, this, I'm with God. Well, you're not. If you can tell yourself that, you know. So, I've lost that point there. It's the You see, just that moment, when things come together and there is a relief, a release in the body. And it is a fraction. Everything is as it should be, as was always meant to be. Everything is right and wow. In that 30 seconds, 5 seconds, you meet someone in the street you were thinking about, and here they are, they tell you exactly what you thought they were going to tell you. It's like, yes. It's reality saying, yes, yes. Trust that you know what you know. You are with it. You are the wave, riding the wave and being the wave. All of it. And so we have continuous moment of meeting the divine if you are prepared to see them. And then they're very ecstatic, they're orgasmic. You know, they can make you wet of, sorry, I just want to say something extreme here. You know, when you piss yourself, when you laugh so much that you piss yourself. When the little girl's like, I'm just laughing so much with your friend, you piss in your pants. Nothing is holding back. It's ultimate no control. It's just so good, right? Sometimes I want to laugh so hard that I piss in my pants because I know I'm really there when that happens. There's no dam. The floods are open, you know. Everything, let it go. Really let it go. And the floods. Then you wet and lubricated and you stop engaging with the intellect. So Bhairava, when come, you piss your shit yourself, you know, all of it. Who cares? There's no one there to see what you're doing. You are everything, doing everything, for everything, in spite of everything. For the delight of everything. So there's no one that you tell the story to. That's terrifying. It also feels very lonely, you know. It feels sometimes uncontainable. How can I contain this? No one to tell about this? And then there, you relax there, and that's when the Tandava starts to really unfurl. And then you are that person that you meet that is going to tell you exactly what you knew they were going to tell you, because they are a creation of yourself, meeting yourself. And then the spiritual maturity comes when you notice you stop telling everybody, you know, I met my friend, I dreamt that he was telling me this, and he really told me this, how amazing, this is so amazing. Instead of going like this, you just go, when it happens, it's you and the divine recognizing itself. There's no one to tell the story. If you tell the story, you're losing it. Was there for you. You didn't trust it, you didn't believe it. You had to go tell someone. In that moment, you lost it. I mean, of course, also you never lose it. It doesn't matter. It will come again. It's always you doing you. And you develop in this capacity. I feel all the tantric practice are really there, developing your capacity to be there in the moment when it comes, that you can just relax into it. And I feel that's why also the tantric practice are really good to prepare with altered state of consciousness with plant medicine also. I notice that all the tantrics, the people I know that engage in the traditional practice like the Tandava, the yoga of touch, and the Kama yoga, really are this capacity not to be afraid to meet the real unknown, and when it comes is no resistance whatsoever, not knowing where you're going and not holding on to the story of what's happening so that you can tell someone to validate it for you. You know it. There's no one to validate anything. So, Bhairavi, she is the feminine expression, the power of Bhairava, and she is even more insidious in the terror because being the fabric of reality, she's also our sexuality. The power of our sexuality. It's like lighting a fire. It keeps you warm, it cooks your food, it can make your life beautiful. It's very useful. But if you don't attend it properly, if you fall asleep while the fire is going, if you disrespect it, it'll burn the house down with your children in it and all the things you hold dear. So sexuality is this, it's Bhairavi. She's also dark and black, and she's got fang, because the Dakini at one point got really tired in some story in the tradition. In my time of studying the text, I went quite deep particularly in the expression of the Tantric yoginis. They became ugly because they said when we were beautiful and we were appearing to humanity to merge with the lore of reality, they didn't pay attention. We were too gorgeous, and they just sit back and look at us and stop doing anything, stop taking action, and falling asleep, like lulled by beauty. So we start arriving as demons. The Dakini became demons who say, what the fuck are you doing with this opportunity you have of being conscious in a fucking body right now? You are, the whole of the cosmos is looking through your eyes into this potential. And what are you doing? You just leisure and you do nothing with yourself, and you get lost in food and sex and this limited pleasure. They're fulfilling, but then you become too fat, you can't go for a walk, you forgot how to swim because you're too heavy, and you disconnected with the river, you don't go out of the house anymore. It's like you lose connection with the bigger picture. You're becoming self-indulgent. So let us come to wake you up, so we make you scared a little bit, and we become alerted. Someone in the room, I felt something. Maybe I need to go out and walk for a bit, and I need to make some offering, like the little energy that keep us awake. And also because when the truth comes, you immediately know all the places where you've been untruthful. You don't need a God to bring you to judgment. We are the hardest judger of the places where we stray from alignment. Whatever is for you, you know it what it is. And when the truth presents itself, the power of eroticism in its untamed form, you immediately became a naked baby, and you know all the places where you hidden the candy. Now mama unmasked you. It's like God knows it. So you have to come clean, and you have to confess to yourself. And those are the places, surely in my experience also, that are the most painful to move through. But this is where we grow, and that's when we say Bhairavi is with me. Bhairavi is dancing in my being. The darkness with fang. Not to also indulge too much also in the self-judgment, but because it reminds me that I knew where the truth lie and I didn't took action. I play distracted. I pretended I didn't know for whatever reason. I looked away. And that moment are so painful because there is the opportunity of being alive, and we use distraction to avoid it. And those are the places where we end up suffering the most later. So Tantra say, okay, do this practice more and more, so that when you catch yourself, sometimes even as you are trying to derail from reality and want to look away, that you're not so rigid also. You look away, but you're still dancing with it and tickling one finger, okay, with Bhairavi, don't let go of me. I'm so scared. I am so small. I'm so afraid. I so want to look away, but keep engaging me, keep pulling me towards you, dear mother. Open my heart. Make me a vessel of your truth. When it's so scary and I feel I can't. This is, in the Bhairavi, the dark divinity, are the recipient of all our shadows. They dare to actually swallow our shadow, kiss it, make love to when we can't, when I want so much, look away and be in the shadow. They say, give it to me, I'll take it, give it to me, with love, give it to me, give it, I'll take it. Come, beloved, keep coming back to the heart of truth. It's a dance, I dance with you. It's scarifying because it's so free, it's so liberated. All the Buddhist tradition, I don't know if you know about the Bardo, some of you here perhaps are more developed in Buddhism than I am, but the little I know when I engage with the Tibetan Book of the Dead is training you. You're going to see all this demon is you. Is the body of consciousness taking the shape of all that was unfinished with you. All the time you look away, so if now you can stay looking and say to the demon, swallow me, I know I am you, you are me, I'm not afraid. That's the moment you stop looking away and you're hiding, you come into truth. And because, there's no real timeline, in that moment, all those little moments release themselves. Because time is in the present, when you really are open to look in the eyes of that which really scares you. Every time you've done this, now it's liberated. Voila. Let's have a pause here. Take a deep breath. And so let's open the space for contemplation and reflection and thoughts. And yes, but.
Where's emptiness in this? It's all emptiness.
Everywhere.
But I find. Okay, let me percolate it longer.
So satsang is where we measure now our capacity to think also, so the conversation is really important now. So that we elaborate. Otherwise, these are so beautiful concept, and then we go home and again we take a picture of Bhairavi, we put it on the altar, and we do all the movement and the gesture, but we don't fully understand what the fuck are we talking about really? Or in context of this, what do you want to understand if you take this as a map? Because you have to measure the Tantra. Let it help you to make sense of life, otherwise it's not valid.
For me, there is a confusion, I would say, where I don't understand. On the one hand, it sounds it's important to just surrender to the fact that you are alone, and then, but where's the interplay between having to go through this on your own and having to accept the aloneness, but then also connecting with others?
Yeah, because you separated. There is alone and everybody. When you enter in the body of Bhairava, you're everything. Everybody is with you. There isn't even a thought that says you other than me. I want to be with everybody. When you are in Bhairavan, that's the moment of terror. Can I leave everything to merge? Because it feels like a loss. But when you enter, you are not alone. You belong to everything. And yes, it's not a place we go there permanently to sit there like guru on a mountain. These are continuous point of awareness. This is how we live with awakening. It's a process, it's a continuous process, is in the happening. There's no linear time. One time it happened and then I'm there. Will I be alone? It's to understand, even right now, everybody's here, and maybe there are some moments where the reality enters within you. If you have the courage to go deep and total within yourself and let go of all this tentacle that wants to attach to everybody, to gives you a sense of identity. My name, what I'm doing, I'm afraid of the dark, I'm afraid of I don't trust myself. We relate to everybody around in very different way, but there is a lifeline, that also is really beautiful. It's the lifeline of support. If we move from this intellectual separation into like even the mycelium, we are all connected by the umbilical cord. You can let go of this thought that there are people around, and you just connect to the belly of reality. All of it, it's inside, it's with you. It gives you more capacity to culture yourself in its uniqueness. Because oftentimes for the survival need to be with everybody and forge us to be all the same. We want to be the same. And we're missing out in this opportunity to be exceptionally individuated in this way where you taste reality as you only can. As a gift to the totality in service of the multiplicity of consciousness. Am I getting too philosophical? Do you understand? No, I stretch the boundary a little bit because I feel this is, and I see many of you have been around for a while, so the theory, when we talk about divinity in this context, and just wanted to enter it from this place. Yes?
How do our emotions relate to the body of Bhairava? When we experience sadness, it's often because of a desire that is not fulfilled, or when we experience pleasure or joy, it's because of a desire that is fulfilled. So there is kind of like an agenda. And so I guess my question is, because emotion is such a subjective thing, it is not an awareness of unfolding of reality, but it's more of a response to the unfolding of reality.
And is also the unfolding of reality itself, because you will only know that reality was unfolding when you feel that emotion. Then you realize something just happened. What happened? And there is a narrative, and here is me. So your emotional is a response to the unraveling of reality as an unraveling. That's God knowing itself. If you really stay with the emotion, whatever it is, and you track it in the body, it's a bubbling, it's a contraction. There is a whole universe within each emotion that is unique for you. Sometimes we like to make the assumption that when you are sad, I feel my sadness and I project that we are feeling the same thing. Sometimes it might look like we are feeling the same thing. In reality, I will never really know. How does it feel from the inside? What does it feel to be sad? You will only know that from the inside of your being. In that unraveling, it's consciousness knowing itself as this point of awareness that unravel in a certain way. Your response is always unique. And so the emotions are almost like, do you call it, there is this word that goes around, I'm not too sure if I understand the meaning of it, but I want to say biofeedback. Is that appropriate to say? It's a feedback to what's happening, and also it feeds consciousness at large, reality, your emotion unraveled in space. It's like the molecule of sound. What did you say? Flavor.
It's a flavor.
It's a flavor. It's, even more so, because, it's the thing itself that you can taste in your unique way. Yeah, a different feeling had different taste, quality. So, that reality is only always perceived from the inside. Perhaps we even propose there isn't such a thing as reality on the outside. And yeah, we can go in big philosophical conversation, because I can say, Sebastian sits here, and do you agree that he sits here? Right. So there is an outer reality that is objective. But my perception of Sebastian, it's absolutely mine. I want to believe you're gonna see what I see. It's really nice. It's that piece of control. It relaxes me a little bit to know it looks the same to you that it looks to me. But I will never know. What do you see? Ever. And we will never know what it feels to be Sebastian as itself, even. That's that piece of ultimate solitude, which it isn't, because then in knowing that you also can have a completely different experience, now game on. When I become aware, like I said tonight, we are all here, and this is a moment where l'ingranaggio, like that joint of the car, I'm thinking this mechanism of the watch, we going clack, clack, all of us. It's exciting for me. Wow, what the fuck? It's like, it's art. It's the artful way of the universe. The universe is artful. There is a word in Sanskrit called rta, which means right. And the word right comes from rta, but doing the right thing, moving with dharma. And from rta comes also Tao, the way, the right way. And from rta comes art. The universe moves in artful way. It comes the word ritual, rta, ritual. When we bow and do the ritual gesture, we become one with the natural law. When we pray to the fire, we remember the law that really matters, not the man-made law. We become one with the right way, the flow, the thing in which life is. And is righteous, rta, ritual, art. And so your beingness in the rightful way, meaning following your way, to recognize your way, is to be in harmony with reality. Rta, the harmony of the way. So you are the art happening, the performance art, the painting, the poem, the movie being made, the song being sung. You are the tantra being taught. You are the manual of the teaching. We said, the manual, the book come from man. humanity. We are the manual. We came as a living manual. There isn't a manual that says this is how to be a human being. You are making this book of instruction as you go along. You are the living textbook of what does it mean to be you right now in this moment. This is like if you really let this land for a moment. This is immense. Game on. Now we can create real universe. These are the big ritual. Magic. It was magical. No, we make it magic really. By the artful expression of who you are. To be the artist. The artist see reality and represent it. It's unique. If he is a copy, he's not an artist. It's a designer. But to be an artist is to dare. It's scary. Every artist knows that.
I'd like to come in. Just related to his question, but also the symbolism that's interesting in the Buddhist Tantra, which is more what I'm familiar with. The symbolism of Yogini, one of the highest levels of the Tantra practice in Buddhism, is actually of her standing on the body of Bhairava and Kalarati, or Bhairava and Bharavi, and it represents that anger and the desire. In some ways, you're very much in it, but also you're beyond it. So you're engaging with both those forces, but you're also beyond them. You go beyond the duality of that pushing away and the pulling towards, this constant flux, which creates the illusion of yourself. There's also the sense of going beyond the gods that are outside. Like this sense of the divinity and the ones that are pulling the strings out there.
That have a plan for you.
Yeah, that have a plan for you, and so much of the same symbolism is the same as in Kashmiri Shaivism, but the difference is that there's no sense of God outside. You become the divine. You create your own reality, and you're ultimately responsible for it. So I'm just interested in your sense of the need for God in that equation. For me personally, it's because of the connotations of where I come from and the world I'm in, it served to create more division in my reality and more tension in my reality than not having to rely on that concept. So I understand God as a creative principle in the universe and being able to dance with that, but I'm just interested in your experience of what is God in that equation. If I am divinity, if I am the one ultimately responsible, and there's no one making rules for me, then what purpose does God serve, if anything?
Well, we understand that God is another word for mind, absolute intelligence. It's another word for infinite, unlimited, unbounded, which are all concepts that I can sense, but not master, me as Valentina in this plane. And in my expression, I have all the opposite. I know limits. I'm limited by time on this planet. I will die at some point. I watch my body age. It's a known fact. I know it. I deal with my limit all the time. Maybe the limit of my capacity to love everything, even what I don't prefer, but it's still happening. And I still notice my resistance to love them, not to love them, and my desire that there is this possibility of loving everything, unbounded love, unbounded time, unbounded space. These are concepts that also annihilate my mind. So in the tradition, this we call God. They're all interchangeable terminology. Harmony, it's also another word for God. When things are so in harmony that you feel you belong. You feel so at ease in your body when you see a beautiful art, dance, or a painting, or a piece of music. You listen to that and there is this moment where everything is wow. There's nothing else left outside of me having this experience of completion. I don't even have to tell the story to anyone because I'm just so fulfilled. I'm so at ease. So those experiences are all named. That's why God has got thousands of names, because it's in the expression of so many possibilities in life or experience that there is Shiva as this, Shiva as the aha moment, Shiva as the heart that falls in love and doesn't know doubt, Shiva as the darkness that is shimmery, that is luminous, that is not fear, the darkness that makes fear. So all of these are the name of the divine. So, that's why Bhairava, it's scary because it's so complicated and complex. It contains all of it. But again, it's not something outside, but this is an advanced concept to live with. Because it's a great responsibility also. You can't blame anything and anybody else for the way your life goes or for the choices that you're making. It requires a level of maturity. And then, yes, of course, God is you, but God, you don't even become God. When you have that awakening, you know, you are God all the time. You not even become it. You just become aware. And you know, sometimes also when that happens, life is not so exciting suddenly. So much less exciting. And lots of us like the intensity of the duality. And actually we keep choosing it. And in that also it's God. I mean, we studied the Spandakarika, you also were there in some of the classes. The texts speak it very clearly, you know, that the divine created this possibility of duality so that it could create another that look back at itself and realize the magnificence of itself. And in that moment of realization, it's so overwhelming and orgasmic and excruciatingly beautiful that birth itself anew, again in polarity, to experience that again. So we are in this dance. Why? Sometimes it's more like, what do you do with it, more than why it has happened. It's happening. What do we do with it? How do we move with this? That's why Tantra is a philosophy for householder. It's not for monks that renounce, but for the people that live with the reality and its intensity and can see this push and pull and beyond. And sometimes going, you know, you heard me saying this many times, how fascinating. You know, we got this mantra at the School of Fascinating Wonderment. Life is fascinating wonderment. So it's fascinating what the fuck is happening. Like every day I look at what's happening in Palestine at this moment, how the media are responding, the politics, the people, the AI, the social media, what is true, what isn't true, what are the stories I feel pulled to believe because they touch me in a certain way. Are they really true? How I want to believe them to be true, because they fulfill something in me. And I let that happen, and at the same time I've observed that happen. How fascinating, look at this. And then I was so hooked. And then something changed and I changed my mind completely. It's like, oh, look at that. Wow, fascinating. And in that fascination there is the heartache also, and the disbelief, and the agony of that. And also looking, fuck, look at that. Look at that. The level of disbelief. Like my mind has to explode when you enter the depth of disbelief and fear and pain. If you really enter it, if you really sit with that, that's your emotion. you will dissolve for a fraction of few seconds, maybe, if you really enter it. And in that, you see, even in that, there is a capacity to realize God in the depth of the despair. If you really want it. Also, Tantra it's a philosophy for people that really want it. Really. That's why I was secret and needed so many initiation, because with every step of the initiation I was checking, are you sure? You really sure? Yeah, you see, you're coming back. Okay, let's see. Little bit of fire, a little bit, yeah, are you sure this is really, really what you want? You need to be committed, you know. It's like in the tradition, you go to the teacher and the teacher keeps rejecting you, all this tale we have, and keeps saying no, no, no. Because do you really want this? It's painful. But if you really want the truth, yes, you will find it, but you need to be brave. And many people don't really want the truth, and that's also okay. They just want to have a better orgasm. Nothing wrong with that. Better sex life, improve their marriage a little bit, or forever, I don't know. You know, it's like quick fix, a little bit, my life is in trouble and I'm looking for fix. And the problem, it's when they come to Tantra for a quick fix. That's where we see all the problem. It could be a very temporary quick fix that turns into a psychosis, you know. Because the nervous system is not ready, it doesn't have that flexibility to stay with the extagony and contract in too much pain and too much pleasure. All this, you know, erotic practice of shaking the kundalini, they're actually fuzzling the nervous system. You're also on fight and flight, you know, continuously, you know, and you think it's awakening, it's enlightenment. No, you are traumatizing your body. Stop, breathe. You know, it doesn't have to be a show because there's no one to tell the story to, you know. And if you're still here telling the story, catch this. I use this as my measure all the time. When I'm ready to tell the story, I'm not in it about what's happening inside of me. And when I stop talking too much about what's happening, I could really deepen in the internal relationship with the mystery, and make it really personal. And in this personal, it's where we go into non-personal and cosmic. So, yeah, so this, I see this, what's happening that Sheila mentioned, you know, a lot of the, you know, people come to Tantra because there is this attraction to sex and sexuality, because we are all wounded there. We come from a culture that is deeply wounded, and we owe it to all the religions on the planet that made a God outside of us and made the body sinful and the spiritual experience holy. And so we all have deep shame around our body form, our genital, our pleasure, our capacity for pleasure, because at some point someone told us that's you frolicking with the devil, engaging with your perversion. And so we don't explore it and indeed become perverted, you know. So you know, we live in a culture that wounds itself through distorted eroticism the most. Because even if you're not in war zone, there is so much sexual abuse that happen in every culture that wound the humans and block us from capacity to feel. So this is the common denominator. And so there is here something that promises you to liberate your sexuality. Fuck yes, bring it on. Everybody wants it, you know, we all want, because we think if I just liberate my sexuality, then I'm done. You know, it's because it's the thing I never had. So what would it be like to be in a world with that too in? But you know, like I said, sexuality is like the fire. It makes baby, creates life, and destroyed life too. It's so potent. And sometimes we enter into this sexual practice and I feel so good. Suddenly I'm so liberated because I never had it. It's like you eating, the first time you eat chocolate ice cream and you eat too much. Eventually you'll be sick and you vomit and then you're disgusted. You don't want to see chocolate anymore. And this often to many people that takes too much touch into these spaces of expansion without a nervous system that is flexible enough, the tandava, the simplicity of this practice, to relax into this erotic expansion, which is also terrifying when you're having the orgasm and you're gonna tell someone, no, have the orgasm. It blows you, it's a death, you're dying. It's overwhelming in its intensity and in its pleasure. And if you don't have the capacity to let it overwhelm you and wipe you out and make you so humble and devoted, then it will attach to patterns of your mind that is attached to your ego. There needs to be someone doing something in this world. So this someone becomes the master of my sexual energy. This someone becomes a multi-orgasmic person, becomes the one that can dispense orgasm to the masses and heal the people. It's so connected to the ego, to self-importance. You know, I was actually listening to someone speaking about demons and energy, and in the Tibetan tradition, so I hear an expert was speaking, they speak about so many demons that enter in the body and makes the teacher speaks in Sanskrit or tongues, but in the specific was through the Tantric tradition. So they will chant in Sanskrit and they believe to be enlightened. And they'll tell everybody, and they are the big guru. He's a demon, like occupying your being. He's a demon of believing yourself and the story you're telling yourself. You know? It's a tremendous, it's an attachment. You want to do something with this awakening. You see the manipulation? Okay, now I had this amazing experience. I'm going to marketing, package it and sell it. I've done it once. I met people like this. You know, you've taken mushroom once. Wait, you're still meeting it. You know, and with the Tantra, the erotic orgasmic awakening, people think they had their first awakening and they confusing with the arrival place. So now they are awakened. Now they only awaken to the fact that there is something to awaken to. You awaken to the fact there is something to awaken to. Wow, this universe of wonder. My whole body vibrated. I felt so good. My body was the cosmos. You mean we can really have this multidimensional experience at our fingertip? Yes, you can. Now, prepare yourself to withhold it. You know, the first time comes for grace, but then if you wait for grace, it can take a very long time. You want it again, you have to develop your capacity to hold it. And so sexuality, you know, otherwise if we can't hold it, it becomes overwhelming for the body. The body, what does it do? Makes a thought. This is trauma. When we don't have capacity to feel a lot of intensity in the body. And if we had sexual trauma, we've done this as kids. We go into the mind, we make a story, we tell a story to ourselves about what's happening, or we tell other people about what's happening. Becomes a narrative. This is the way the body exits itself, goes into the intellect. And so with eroticism, it's there all the time, because every erotic practice will touch a wounded place in the body. And if you're not careful, if we haven't done enough mind training, if we haven't studied a little bit of philosophy that tells you about this thing, about your multidimensionality, about there is no timeline, about this possibility to be unbounded and unlimited and become living harmony. as the divine, always here, always doing this. I haven't done this, I haven't created this out of my glory. I just relax so deeply that I felt what's always here. For one fraction moment in time, I let go all my armoring. That was also by grace. And then I felt reality as it always is. It's reality as it operates. And there is the devotion. Do you want to know more about it? Wow, now you can become a student. Now everything you do in life is for your awakening. Every book you read, doesn't matter if you read Tolstoy, the Spanda Karika, or the comic book on the newspaper, the comic vignette. Everything you read, you're studying reality. If you are curious enough, and if you were graced by some awakening to deem it worth it to study now consciousness, because you're awakened to the awareness that there is something to awaken to, but you're just at the beginning, you know. And the problem that we are afraid to say that we are at the beginning, we all want to arrive somewhere is the goal. It's like we also, you know, grow up in the culture that as a kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? We're constantly waiting to grow up and do something, when in reality you are in it. And being a student is I'm still I teach because I love studying, and teaching gives me an opportunity to study more. But the studying becomes the awakening. So everything, you know, you look social media, you go on Instagram, you are studying the human nature. You are studying, it's an anthropological studying. Oh, look at that, look at that. Oh, they're doing this now. Notice the trend, how they move across people. Because this is also how consciousness expresses itself. Regardless of you can, if you pay attention, you put the eyes of your awareness there, it will unfold for you and respond to your inquiry, because you are the one looking. And if you're not looking, it doesn't exist.
Val, can you speak a little bit into truth and the texture of truth? Because you've mentioned truth a lot.
Truth is like rata, the right things. You know, it feels right in the body, feels in harmony. Is the aha moment. Everything aligns. There is a sensation of spaciousness and belonging. There is no more doubt. And you know, sometimes in the body we have these moments that are very brief and they are intense. And then the mind comes in and starts judging it and doubting it. It's another way to exit the body. Because to stay in truth also requires trust, to be fierce. Who are you to know the truth? How many times you've heard someone telling you this? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you know? So we constantly trained that it must not be the truth. Who am I to know the truth? And for me, in my experience, every time when I ended up in this love affair with Bhairavi that keeps pulling me for the love of my devotion to look at all the places I did this and I pretended I didn't see and I put my head under, because when you're sitting with truth, it requires everything of you. I didn't want to give everything. I wanted to be distracted, and those are the moments when I'm forced to look back, and they are, you know, the agony, but I remember how it felt in my body. Already in the moment when I looked away from truth, there was a slight and then I smoke a cigarette, so I pretend I don't feel this. Give me a drink, let's go drink out tonight. Because I had a shit day today, I had a full day, and 3 or 4 or 5 times I looked away when the truth presented itself. I can feel it in my body, I can't name it, I'm gonna say, what an intense day. I need a drink. And when I look back at my experiences like this, I recognize all these moments. That's what's happening. That's really what's happening. And it's so uncomfortable that I want to drink, I want to distract a little bit. It's also okay, you know, my nervous system is catching up, recognizing. So like in the sexual experience, also true arousal is the truth. You know, we call it like the arising of the truth can feel like an arousal of the body. It's an opening. When you are aroused in the body, you can't be anywhere else. It's like, whoa, what's happening? I'm hard, I'm wet, I'm soft. Oh my God, something happening. My nipple just got hard. The air, I need to pay attention. What's happening? There is an active response of absolute presence. Is the opposite of ducking. It's a moment. So to track this moment, recognize those, truth. What is truthful here? We are all turned on by truth. That is the biggest eros for everybody. Real turned on, heart, full body orgasm, full body turned on. I'm not just speaking like genital turned on, that maybe is disconnected from heart and throat. It's just a release. And that could be so distorted that it feels like real, but it's so far away from the truth. But you can feel it because it's not aligned. There is like a chaos in the body. But when you're in truth, when you feel what ring as true for you, in your capacity to receive the truth for you, for your awakening, that will expand the level of your awakening where you are at. It's not the same for everybody. It's very personal. And that's the ultimate courage. Yes.
I see more and more gender exclusive work happening. Men's work, women's work, this sort of thing. Men's circles, women's circles. And it's opened a question for me around where this work is supportive of these teachings and where it might be counterproductive by creating further division and identification.
Well, it depends where you are in your level, in your journey of awakening. If you just awaken, like to understand gender is important because it's one of the map that are overimposed to your experience of being human on the planet. So get to know yourself through other men that has the same body, similar desire, recognition. It's relevant, it's powerful, it's important, it's education. There are many initiatory practices from all the traditions that are just for women and just for men, because at some level we live in different universes. You know, like our hormones, you know, now we are so big on all this hormone dance. Add this cocktail, more testosterone, and, you know, it's like a friend of mine, a woman that became a man in this transgender experience. She told me she was taking testosterone, and she told me, finally, I had to go to the shop to buy some milk. It was the easiest task ever. I just walked out, went to the shop, bought the milk, and walked back. Before, when I was a woman, it's like, I have to buy milk, and what else? What did I remember? Am I forgetting something? Okay, but before I go, let me put the washing on so that it goes while I'm shopping, and when I come back, it's done, and I can do this other thing. So while I'm doing the washing, I'm forgetting I had to go and buy milk, and then the telephone rang, and now it's 5 o'clock, and I didn't buy the milk, and I must run. It's a drama, just to go to the shop and buy milk. That was fascinating for me, because when she described it, I was like, yeah, I'm that. I do that all the time. Do you mean there is a possibility to do that? I want some testosterone immediately. I want to feel what that feels like. Really? You mean I can be so direct and not fluff around? And be so emotional about everything. So in some way, I really don't know what it feels to be in a body that produces testosterone so much. I mean, I do produce, but so much more in a different ratio. I really don't know. And I think for men to be with similar being, it's like you recognize yourself and you treading, you know, the water. You get to know your environment. And for women, it's the same. And so I feel there are some secret that belongs to men and some secret that belongs to women. And it's just how it is. It's a law of nature. You know, we can intellectualize it and try to change it. But it's also, maybe this law, this natural law will change at some point, I don't know, when life doesn't need a man and a woman to come together in this, you know, is also representative of the ultimate polarity, like limited, unlimited. Yeah, really, the polarity are polarized, soft and hard. I can only understand this couch is soft. I can only understand this soft because I know hard. They're so relevant for each other. If I don't understand abandonment, how do I know love? How do I know that I am in the place of love? That's when God, how do I know myself? If I don't know separation, abandonment, all this feeling we are avoiding, the different. So we are so essential to each other. And so man and woman come together and they just make life. That's the law of nature. They make baby. I don't have to intellectualize it. It's how it is. Wow, that's big. So two completely different universes coming together and creating a new one. So there are secret law that belongs to the man and some that belongs to the women. And then also sexual attraction, sexual tension belongs to this duality. You know, all this fire we have for each other is because we are polarized. The less we become polarized, the less erotic tension is there. And I notice, I mean, maybe I just noticed this, I don't know, but you know, in my study I do about the human condition that a lot more of transgender people become asexual. So many don't have any sexual desire. Wow, and I'm observing this less polarized being, they are in between. There is less sexual tension. I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm not going there, I'm just observing. And so if we enter the work of eroticism at this first level, when we follow the eros as a place to take us into our deep wound, to see it, meet it, love it, hopefully release it. This sexual tension is useful, very useful. So I think it's really good that we do this polarized work at some level. We need to honor each other and meet each other more in the differency to know that really also our eroticism works in a very different way. And you know, the Kama Sutra speaks about this endless technique there is a technique to bite the body of the beloved, and particularly the female, for the man to leave imprint, marking of his teeth on the body of their consort, and make it in a way that you create the patterns in their body, that you make a belt around the belly, like they have this jingle bell, or the crisscross around the breast. So for a man, it's a really good technique to stay really focused and goal-oriented, and aesthetically pleasing, and maybe a little bit perfectionist, really good for man to stay focused. It's like collecting wood, to do this thing. So it keeps the ember on the wood. The man doesn't get too excited too quickly, but is actively doing something. And for the woman that naturally takes so much longer to be aroused, it's a beautiful technique to arouse her slowly. Imagine having a belt made of little bites on your waist, huh? It's like, ooh, yeah, bring it on. make it nice, make it neat, make it neat. Didn't do it good enough. Now the back, don't leave any gaps. So we're learning the way we move into the world is very different. Then the more you develop, the more you done, so you enter, you do the work with sexuality, hopefully held with capacity. You know, for me, that's why in beginner Tantra, the philosophy is really important, because we don't hijack what happened and we become arrogant. That I've gone for a weekend retreat and now I'm multi-orgasmic and I'm going to tell all my lovers what they must do. You know, this is absolute arrogance and manipulation, and again, cover up my insecurities around my sexuality and my fear to ask for help, my fear to say, I know nothing, beloved. Tell me about your sexuality. Tell me everything about your desire and your play. Teach me, educate me. You are a universe. Yeah, I had 100 lovers, but none like you. Tell me about you. I know nothing. I'm curious. I'm willing. You know, this is how we learn. But this is very vulnerable, and so we pretend we know and we manipulate the experience. So it's important, if we are exposed to the philosophy, that give us a context of reverence and curiosity and fascination, then it makes it playful, you know. And then you go through all your trauma, you know, step by step. Some people, this is enough for their life, to just do men work, women work, come together on the weekend with their wife or husband, have a good lovemaking, really good. And they meet in truth and have a good week with their kids and their work. And that's it. They don't want to ask deeper questions. They are content. And we leave them there. It's okay. And this work shouldn't be called Tantra, should call work on sexual empowerment, work on sexual liberation, work on sexual expansion, sexual healing, lots of wounds around sexuality. Let's call it sexual healing. I think more people would go to do this retreat. Instead of calling them tantric, then no one knows what the fuck is happening there. So people that actually want sexual healing are not going to do it because it's tantra. What is that about, you know? It's unclear. And I think a lot of these teachers, unfortunately, they're still using this label because they themselves are still afraid to call things by their name. Sex, it's sacred. Sex is holy. Let's heal around our sexuality. And so they need to call it Tantra so it looks spiritual. Because I'm ashamed to actually work with sex. Because what they're gonna think? What are people gonna say about me? I'm a sex worker. Gosh, I'm a sex educator. Oh, that doesn't sound good. So I teach spirituality, tantric sex. Then I appear. So you see how we manipulate, you know? Tantra is like, okay, you ready for Bhairava? You want to do the Tantra, it's going to fucking clap you. I want to, it's like that teacher said, no, no. And you still coming back? Okay, a little harder. You really want to come to this? You know? And the one that says yes, 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 you know, like a little bit bruised, keep coming back, you know, and then you move through your erotic desire, because the many of you that are here, I see you, you've been around quite a while, you know how much your erotic attraction took you in all the hardest experience of your life, perhaps. The people you desire the more, the hottest sex was the, gosh, those stories, those love stories. You grew, you know, eros leads to gnosis. I think Plato said that. If you follow your eroticism, your body asks you to finish this emotion that you never finished as a young one and you never had the opportunity to really unravel, like when you can just witness. I mean, this is mastery. I'm not there. Just like engaging a lot with it, and I'm observing a lot of the texture, the emotion that are finished liberates you. There is space inside of you. The one that are unfinished keep calling for more. You know, it wants to liberate itself. It wants to unravel itself. It wants to inform reality and participate. And so you keep calling for the erotic desire that have an unfinished piece that maybe it's got nothing to do with sex. It's about your dad, your mom, you know, your school teacher. But in sex, this dynamic get displayed I'm a little girl, I'm a mother, you're my daddy, you are, power dynamic. And then you go through this. It can take 5, 6, 7 years. That's good going. 10 years, a decade to work to your erotic, finish with your erotic stuff. It's really good going. That's advance, Give it. I can look at 20 years in my life too of this dance. And then you're more ready for the practice of an androgynous practice. Because your eros now is the arouses with truth. It's not responding, it's expressing, it's participating, it's including itself into the rhythm of life. Willing, knowingly, not by accident or unconsciously. So the coming together now is much more trouble-free in some ways, It's not so important then who you are paired up in your masculine-feminine practice, It doesn't matter who's the, you see this when, and I've run lots of this retreat. I've been one of these students also, I go to this tantric retreat and I just check who's in the room, which one is the one I like, and which one are the one I don't like, who I want to play, who I choose, that alone, it's the map of my inner reality. Either this, I get to make love to them or not, it doesn't matter. There already, if I had the capacity to see that, is all mapped out immediately. And then when we go to the advanced sexual practice, it doesn't matter who's around. It's irrelevant. It's just other body here. Everybody is the body of the divine. Everybody is an opportunity for me to meet God as a human in the flesh, and I use another human, here is the two, to become one again. So then we are all androgynous. Women are very masculine, men are very feminine. I happen to observe also that this is what tends to happen. That was a long answer to your question. Everything it's about stages of awakeness. So things are appropriate in different circle and in different dynamic.
Sorry, I'm very new to Tantra, so this is all very interesting. I have a question. Is there, or what is the link between Jungian psychology, concept of anima, animus, and archetypes, and Tantra, if there is any link?
Yeah, Jung found the Tantra, and that was the only language he could overimpose to the teaching. And so very intellectualized, very much about the psyche. So at some level it's valid, And we like in Tantra, we dissect the totality in order for understand it and come back there. But the process of understanding is the orgasm. The process of awakening is the orgasm for God. Like we say, again, I come back to it in some of the traditional texts, God divided itself in order to know itself. So out of his body came this feminine force, in some texts, she's called Vimarsining, a prism reflecting his light. The light of God come through her and created this wonderment like rainbow light of everything. And God rejoiced of itself as everything. But in order to have this thought itself, everything needs to be there. Subject and object. There must be an object for me to know that I'm the subject. Reality, the way it gives me an input for me to see how I respond. It gives an opportunity to know myself in virtue of something other outside of me that activate my response. So if you shout at me and I go afraid, I was like, oh, I'm afraid. The divine is experiencing fear. As Valentina with my narrative. Maybe you speak like my dad, ooh, even more deepest fear for me, maybe not for him. So here I'm unraveling self. Through what life reflects to me, I kept giving a mirror where I know myself. So this was the split of Shakti and Shiva, you know, the masculine and feminine. It's I don't know if I don't know how to say it. If someone wants to explain it in different words for him, it stretched the mind a lot. So I haven't studied Jung a lot, so I can't go too deep in there. So how do you understand animus, anima and animus?
So anima would be the feminine within the male, animus the male within the female, but it's more that it's an image of the divine in some way that acts as a bridge to the unconscious. And so when we encounter that divinity, we sometimes project it, and sometimes we try and use it ourselves. But it's
what divinity?
The masculine or feminine divine.
Right.
So anima could be the feminine divine, and animus, the masculine divine. And I'm just wondering if that concept of the masculine and feminine divine resonate with Tantra or linked in some way.
Well, it comes from Tantra. What I see happen oftentimes is become very manipulated by the intellect. And so now we have divine masculine and divine feminine, and we have a list of attributes for the divine masculine and the list of attributes for the divine feminine. We keep going in there, we meeting them with the intellect, and we dissect them, and we make them very complex. And then they become the map to which we behave. Instead of watching my natural behavior, I start to behave according to the map. This is where I see the little risk of becoming too intellectualized, because once you have a map and you heard it, you can't undo it. And sometimes I see this in a lot of the tantric, neo-tantric retreat about we are the divine masculine. Okay, I'll make an example. This tantra teacher was telling me, they do this practice where a couple sit together, and one, I'm the divine masculine, and the divine masculine sits still. Such a stereotype. And then there is the divine feminine, the Shakti, and she dances. And when I'm into the divine masculine, I'm channeling the divine masculine, this energy of presence and emptiness and all these attributes, individuation and stillness, protection, blah, 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 blah. I channel this and I give power to the Shakti to dance and express and show me, you know. And in this fault, the problem is that both these places are separated from the experience of the divine. The divine is still up there. And if I'm a good meditator, a good student, I'm going to channel it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to ask her, so where does the divine lives? Where does the masculine divine lives? If you have to take it down from where? Does it live on the cloud? Just like God? Sounds familiar, you know? And if you are a good girl and a good guy, it will come to you. And then you, with your ego, offer it and animate the world. Very like also narcissistic, hedonistic. It's me doing everything. But the problem is that consciousness, Shiva's not up there. Shiva is inside my cells. Every bubbling cell inside my body, you know, in my shit, in my blood, in my tears, and in the crevice of my being, inside out, continuously, right here already. So the traditional tantric tradition, because a lot that people call tantra is actually neo-tantra. And the aspect of neo-tantra is this interest in human relation, and how to fix my love affair and use God to fix my love affair. Traditional Tantra is interested in your love affair with God first, here, inside out, all encompassing reality. And once I'm eradicated in this, I meet the world. I meet other human beings. I am also the Shakti. There's no this, I am this and you are that. We are inside each other. The Shakti dance, this is Shiva. This, you see this circle there dancing in the fire of truth, Nataraj? It's so feminine. Who says this is the divine masculine that destroy? I see an harmonious Rta, the flow. I see the fire of truth. This is in the heart, is dancing inside the heart. This is the fire of truth. This, it's every single cell in your body. Inside, there is Shiva dancing. You know, your DNA, it's harmonious flow. It's continuous spiraling. And this is not a narrative. It's science. It's quantum physics. You know, and Tantra, classical Tantra, use this image to make you understand how reality is really built onto itself, molecule by molecule, building block. And then I think, you know, the Western world arrived into India. They took this text. The texts are amazing because they're written in Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is a language that is written in all directions. You look at a sonnet, like at a rhythm, as a sutra. And as the translator, you have to decide where you're going to break this continuous line. It's a concept. And according to your capacity to understand, you're going to choose who's the subject, who's the object, how is the dynamic built here, and you're going to create meaning. And that becomes a teaching. But these teachings are there to meet humanity exactly where everybody's at. Like the truth will meet you in a way that you can understand it. Otherwise, no use for you. And if these are called absolute truths, they have to meet everybody. And so, if your awareness is limited, you'll understand this, your linear mind. The Victorian English found the Kama Sutra and decided it was a book on sexual posture. In reality, it's a book about metaphysics. It's the body of Shiva penetrating the body of consciousness. But I thought, oh, it's a man and a woman copulating, you know? So, and it's maybe true at that level too, but there are so many other levels. It's so much more expansive than that. And so a lot of the Western philosophy took these seeds of knowledge and crystallized them and made them into narrative and school of thought. And in some way, I think they took away the physical embodiment of it. They become very intellectualized. And psychology can become a real mindfuck and sometimes bring no resolution. You can be in psychotherapy for decades and nothing changes. Yeah, your mind is having an orgasm about his own thought. Can be like, wow, amazing. But when you don't combine the body with the intellect, there is a gap. That's why in the tradition, you know, tantric practice, they're always associated to the philosophy. If you take the philosophy by itself, it's dry knowledge. If you take the practice by itself, it's self-indulgent. It's very hedonistic and self-fulfilling. It doesn't take you anywhere after a while. Become an addict of the pleasure of your body. You know, a lot of what I see it's called sexual liberation in the neo-tantric field, it's sex addiction. Like really addicted because it feels so good. Why not? Keep going. And also, it's okay for a while. But when you notice that now you are so locked into these patterns to find your pleasure, it's not freeing you anymore, you know? If you can only have good sex in a group setting and in a certain way, you're not free. Sometimes sexual freedom is the power to say, I don't want to have sex. Actually, that's true. That's true liberation, you know? Instead of always saying yes, yes, because the liberated persons, especially women, say yes to everything. And I see a lot of subtle abuse of our sexuality, especially the women in this field, because we need to be multi-orgasmic, because is the elastic band from not having an orgasm to having 15 in 30 seconds, you know. It's another demand, it's another performance. It's a, look at me how good I am. Well, then you're not in your power. Who are you telling? If you have an orgasm, have it. Don't have to tell anybody. Just have it. And all be well. You know? And so, and having a lot of sex with everybody is really liberating. Sometimes can be further wounding, because we think if I say no, oh, I'm a bigot, or I'm not sexually liberated. And becoming a tantric becomes also another identity of the most dangerous one. What tantrics do. Well, the ultimate is you never know what a tantrics do, because they're imprevisible and unnerving. And so if you lock this also idea what tantrics do, you are lost it. You are not a tantric anymore. You know, you froze this that is quivering vibration outward in all directions. Surprise me, show me. Reality said through the body of the tantric, show me, show me, show me more how it is, how it is. It's a question. So, yeah, blah, 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 blah. So the body has to be included, always. That's when we go together. It's like the lovemaking. The knowledge in the mind, and the mind that sits in the body, we understand. This is the intellect, this is no mind. The mind is in every cell. You are an intelligence walking. Experience and knowledge like this all the time. And that's what we call truth. That's what we respect as truth. And no one can convince you. In fact, if you find yourself you're being convinced, that's not the truth. You know, you will know what is true for you when you find it, and then have the courage to live it, to express it, to celebrate it.
I just have one question. So the purpose or the overall where we're going for Tantric is the experience of the divine within themselves. Not the sharing, not the story, not the behaving in a particular way, but your journey with yourself.
Yeah,
the
because,
experience of the divine within you.
yeah, because when you really know that, you see it everywhere. It's such a joy to then celebrate it. Come together, let's play music as gods, as this point of interconnection of time. You know, it's like it's beautiful to play the sitar by yourself. If you're a musician, you have to clock a lot of practice, you alone with your instrument over and over and over. But what a delight when there is another musician coming to jam. That's exquisite. But you must know your instrument very well in order to jam. Because if you lose in rhythm, you're going to throw the other one off, or the other one is going to throw you off. And what if it's an orchestra? Everybody must know their instrument really well. Then we become the cosmos exploding in a million galaxies, the potency of that encounter. And if you're aware of your divinity, you're aware of the potency of that encounter. And no one says a word. No one has to tell everybody, hey, isn't this so amazing? You play and you go in and you give of yourself in the totality. You follow the current. And everybody that listens is transformed. So Tantra doesn't say don't come together. Come together, but know who you are when you come together. Then is a real celebration. Then we create worlds and galaxy. We change consciously this moment of reality. We are in it. We are the creators of this moment of reality. As you play your instrument and is unique, and yet it's completely interdependent to all the other instruments to make this melody now. Wow. To be in the heart of this as it happens, that you recognize that is happening and you are in it. That's what we call, the deep experience of God knowing itself. And it doesn't just happen one time. It's not an arrival. It happens all the time, in the really small thing, if you are paying attention. And if you want to see it. And if you're an artist, or a poet, or a writer, and a singer, you like color and shape and form and sound, you will evoke that for yourself. More and more, for the exquisite joy to do art in the right way with life, to be in the experience of being alive as art, rta. And that's the ritual. This is a ritual. We are doing ritual together. And I can sense we are full and tired. We can also finish here. If you want to stand up and go smoke a cigarette, go to the toilet, you can. I don't want to hold you here. Don't be polite. Don't be polite. If you start yawning, that's your body telling you you're done. Go. Have the courage. This is the courage to own your truth. It's always with reverence when it's truthful. You're free. And if someone wants to stay and we can engage a little longer, we also can. But feel free to move how you want. I'm not offended if you leave. And even if I was, you shouldn't give a fuck. You should take care of yourself first.
What about the yoga?
Yes.
I haven't heard about the yoga.
I know. The Kama Yoga. Yeah, I mentioned it. I did say very briefly.
It's still valid.
Still valid, still super valid. In fact, one of the most valid things. But I kind of hold that for the students that are really committed. The one that knock on my door relentlessly. When I said, no, I don't teach, no, they come. I was like, okay, you really want it? We start with the yoga. 6 weeks, only yoga. Don't ask me any question. Just do the practice. Because, it's required at least that for 6 weeks there is a commitment. The Tandava is more approachable. It's like a little bit, it's a feminine. It's a little bit more...
It's more
flirty, seductive, require less of the commitment. Keep doing the yoga. Yeah. Yeah, require longer, it's like this whole process. You need the whole hour feeds on itself. With the Tandava you can do 10 minutes and it can give you a glimpse, and then if you like it you come again and then you come and do the yoga.
Well, I'm just curious about Kama Sutra because I've actually never heard you mention that before, and I was wondering how that does tie into Tantra, or if it's a different school of thought entirely. I mean, obviously they both come from Indian philosophy.
Indian philosophy in the 16th century, when there was like a boom of also the tantric arts. In the court of the Raj, there was the king would invest a lot in the art and culture of India, so a lot of classical music and dance and temple architect and sculpture, and so it was like a renaissance of this hedonistic approach to spirituality. And so the Kama Sutra was written in that time. And my Tantra yoga teacher always says the book on metaphysics It's not the body of a man and the body of a woman. It's the forces of reality that are continuously compenetrating. And then sometimes I have this translation, you know, at one level it's very domestic, you know, why not also? It brings the joy of sex into a marriage is a microcosmos, you know, if you have children, you are their blueprint. So if you are happy in your erotic freedom, you can only but teach more freedom in the body of the children. So why not bring it into the household? And so the first level of reading is like this technique, you know, kissing, and it spend a lot of time in the technique that all come before penetration actually. The tension, that awakenness, like what all we do in the bliss dance, you know, that long, endless foreplay to culture these desires that I know myself, what does it feel to live in a body that it desires, it's eroticized, if I don't act on it. Because as kids, there was always the association here with the girlfriend, boyfriend, you get aroused, you do something, you're together in the dark, you kiss, you touch. It always ended up geared to the release of this erotic energy. And so in this we're culturing, holding the capacity of the erotic energy. When I don't release it, it starts telling me something about myself as divine, as God in this plane, feeling the aliveness, you know, feeling the power of Eros. I don't know if you felt this at the end of bliss dance. Feel so alive. I feel big like this whole room. Everybody here is inside my body. 30 people, we dance together. You don't exist. I have this experience. Suddenly you are all part of me. You are burdened by my being. And I talk to you and I see you, but I also know it's like really empowering experience of when the body is aroused and feels really alive. Huh?
I have one more question.
Absolutely.
Brief. This might be a little bit like also heavy, but just the history of Tantra, like just talk about it. And in India, like, you know, like having both been in India, I don't meet people who are carrying and embodying these ways.
In India.
In India.
Yeah, but India is not tantric.
So it's lost. So it was started in India and then
No, it birthed in India, but was so liberating that it wasn't politically viable. Because suddenly, if everybody has the potential to realize themselves as God, the caste system wouldn't work. You need a God that people are afraid of to control people. When they're afraid of God, they're in fear. You control them. So for me, I always tell my daughter Luna, you know, I feel life goes in two ways. Either you are afraid of God or you're in love with God. And your life will look very different. Every experience will enter a different framework. And in the Tantra, we are in love with God. We're literally having a love affair with the divine, with the beloved. In fact, the quality of God, you asked me before, is the quality of arousal. It's not even a divinity. It's this, that when you're falling in love, when you're in the love affair, how it makes you feel. That's how God manifests. In the fluttering of the heart, the titillating, the erection, the wetness is like, This is how we understand divinity. You know, it's also not a byproduct of the experience, like the emotion. It's not a byproduct. Itself, the emotion rippling through your being. That's how you are alive. You are divine. That's God. It's so underlooked. You know, we're always looking for something other. What was your question?
historically, what happened to?
Right.
India,
So when a person is like this, alive and powered, they're free. They're not going to go to work. They're not going to go and do shit work. They're not going to take abuse because it's like, how dare you? I'll walk out of this. I trust the universe is on my side, supports me. I come together with my community. You know, it's like you would make very different social choices. So that wasn't conducive for a caste system which someone is on top and someone is at the bottom. And at the top, guess who were there? The king and the priest, as always, you know, the Brahmin. And so this is how Tantra started going underground. Was also kept for people that were also developed enough. Although Tantra say everybody's got the capacity of awakening, but also said, well, if you don't awaken, you die. Same thing. You know, we can give you the Tantra. If you're unprepared, you can die. It's fine. We're recycling the soul. Come next time. You're a little bit more prepared next time. You want to meet Bhairavi? Come to the cremation ground. Come and meet the yogini. If you're prepared, she makes love to you. If you're not ready for her, she eats you alive. She swallows you. You die. For the sadhaka, for the yogin, that's still a blessing. I'm still going to be recycled through the body of reality, the divine, and I'll be rebirthed with this memory as a soul. Phenomenal. You were swallowed by, you were brave enough to sit there. Bhairavi arrived. You know that you weren't ready because you got scared. You got a fucking fright. You contracted, she swallowed you. What the fuck? You know, game over, you know. But you come back, you have this memory in your soul. It's a good preparation for next time. You're a little less afraid. So it's not for everybody, you know. So that's why Tantra started to become dark, you know, witchcraft and scaring for people. Because when you understand how reality works, you can manipulate reality. Of course you can. And there's no morals. Because there isn't the ultimate God that wants everything to be good or to be in a certain way. Even a maniac that knows how reality works and manipulated is still Shiva having an experience of that. So it can happen. And so the goodwill of people that started to see, okay, that's not so dharmic though, you know, we have to go through so much fucking suffering because this dude wasn't capable to manage reality in his expansiveness and started to manipulate it. He was also afraid of his own power. So let's put the power away a little bit. Let's protect them. Let's see if we can develop people to enough capacity first to understand the multidimensionality, and then we give them the teaching little by little so that they might do beautiful things. Because this is how we participate with the consciousness of the cosmos. And yes, war also is an expression of Shiva knowing itself, but war creates a lot of wounding and cutting and sense of loss and dissociation and pain that requires time for the collective to filter through back and regurgitate. And in a sense, it is a dharmic, you know. We could be in celebration instead of being in sorrow and in agony, you know. And so, and we feed in this back to the collective consciousness that also get informed by this, and we creating data. And when the data is more about manipulation and fear, it's all fear actually, it will know itself to be that more. And it reproduce itself from that point of understanding. So that's a slight danger, you know, because it will expand exponentially. That's reality, keeps expanding. So the teaching got a little bit protected and put away for later. And in the teaching, you also say they're not for everybody. You know, some people, you don't want to give them the Tantra. It'll be dangerous for them. They go mad. They become egomaniac. It's really dangerous, you know. Leave them with a little meditation practice Tell them to go to the monastery where there is a big monk that keep an eye on everybody because they don't have capacity to take care of themselves. And let the Tantra be for the one that really wants it, and they look for it. And they prepare to die for it. And there aren't many, you know. The problem is that now the West, you know, is the time for all the teaching to be revealed. Yes, maybe. Let's see. And so, you know, there is also this idea that we're going to know what we're not supposed to know, and we all feel so brave. But Tantra is dangerous in this way, you know.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. Yeah. And you know, like when you see the capacity and the potential, there is a lot of agony that comes when you really see how the reality, this opportunity we're all having as human beings, we're wasting it, engaging in our fear. It's an agony to live in the world when you really are awakened. So, of course, if you have the capacity to alchemize that, to know, okay, but this is the real, and I'm here for the real, so bring it. My love for truth, it's so big that this too, I will take it through my body, because I love this too.
It's like the Matrix.
It's like the Matrix. Yeah.
Taking a reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think
We should close it.
But I just want to give a big thanks, I think, on behalf of everyone for you, Val, and sharing your wisdom and beautiful words and expressions tonight. It's been a huge honor for you to be here, and
Thank you.
may you come back soon, please.
Blessings. Have a wonderful life. Be an artist. Come show me. Enlighten me with your art. I love it.